In this video, I got 5 tips for new comic book collectors. Coming up. Welcome back to Comics Are Dope. I'm BJ Kicks, and 4.5 years ago, I was a wide-eyed newcomer to the world of comics. I had just gone to Free Comic Book Day and sort of gotten the bug. I started following a bunch of comic book YouTubers, and suddenly I found myself entrenched in a world of stories and art and dialogue and characters that I had just never been exposed to before. And it couldn't have happened at a better time, as I had more disposable income than ever before. And I started feverishly, and I mean feverishly, collecting comics. And feverishly collecting anything during a pandemic is probably not a great idea, but I did those things. And I'm here to take all the lessons that I've learned over the last 4 years as a comic book collector and give you 5 easy tips that you can follow if you are new to this hobby. This video is part of the 25 Days of Comics. I'm bringing you guys a new comic book video every day in the month of December up until Christmas. So if you haven't already, get caught up with this playlist. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. And I got to give a huge thanks to Organic Price Books for sponsoring this video. Now, Organic Price Books is the best place to go online for collected editions, up to 38% off the retail price. You get insane packaging, amazing customer service, and you save quite a bit of money on your purchases, especially when you use my discount code BJKicks at checkout. You'll save $2 on any, small order, 1, 2, 3 books. If you're a big spender, consider using the code BJKicks, ship it together on orders of 4 items or more. And that way you get a 5% discount on your entire purchase. So huge thanks to Organic Price Books for sponsoring this video. Now, let's get into the 5 tips I've got for new comic book collectors, because man, if I had someone to tell me all these things 4 years ago, I'd have saved a lot of money, a lot of headache, and a lot of heartache in some cases. So let's start with the first tip, and it's probably the most important tip. You don't need everything. I don't care what anybody tells you. Listen, do not fall into the trap. When I got into comics, of course, I started following all the dope comic book creators. And so I'm following Near Mint Condition and Gem Mint Collectibles and the Comic Book Report and Comics Are Dope and all of these channels. And one thing that they all conveniently have in the background is a huge wall of collected editions shelves. And you're just looking at them like, wow, they have everything. Omar's got like every Marvel book ever. And Gem Mint is on a mission to grab every Marvel and DC omnibus ever. And it is insane the amount of things that you feel like you've missed out on just because you see that someone else has it. And so if you're not careful, you can very quickly become obsessive and be like, look, I got to get everything. I got to get caught up. I got to get all the out of print books. I got to get all the whales. I got to get all the new stuff. I got to get every book that everyone says is amazing. And I got news for you. You don't. You don't need every book. It will not be the end of the world if you miss out on a release. And chances are, if you have any kind of life outside of comic books, you're not going to be able to read a lot of the things you get in as quickly as you get them in. So the best thing you can do is pace yourself. So that's tip number 1. You don't need everything. And the second tip I've got for you is all kind of following along those same lines. But the second tip I've got is follow creators, not characters. I think when I got into comics, it was very easy for me to be like, oh, well, I like Batman, so I need everything Batman. Or I like the X-Men, I need everything X-Men. And I'm collecting single issues and hardcovers. And so I'm buying every Batman series that's coming out on shelves. First of all, DC puts out more Batman than anybody puts out any other book. Like at any given day, there are 2 Batman ongoing titles and like 4 Batman miniseries going on at the same time. Nobody needs that much Batman in their life. But for a long time, I felt like I did. And I felt like I was wrong for missing out on any of it. But anyway, I think it's great to follow creators not characters. A lot of times when you're buying every instance of a character, you'll find that sometimes your love for the character can't outweigh your disdain for a certain storytelling style or a certain art style or, intense dialogue. There are people who love Spider-Man who don't love Ultimate Spider-Man. There are people who love Batman who don't love Grant Morrison's Batman, and that's okay. It's best to find creators that you like and start to follow them. One such creator for me is Tom Taylor. I read Deceased, and that led me to Injustice. I read a little bit of Injustice, and then he started doing all these other little events at DC and Marvel. Dark Ages, Dark Knights of Steel, Dark Darkness. I'm joking. That one didn't happen. But The Adventures of John Kent. All are stories by Tom Taylor that I figured I would enjoy because I just kind of learned Tom Taylor's formula of humor and wit and heartfelt storytelling. And it's a combination that wins 9 times out of 10 for me. And so following creators more than you follow characters, what it will do is it will lead you to buying stories that you like more. There's nothing worse than buying a book and then being like, dang, this was a waste of money. I should have bought something else. Because no matter how collectible or returnable something is, you can't get your time back. And so that part sucks. So when you can, try following creators and not characters. Tip number 3. Don't be afraid to branch out. Some of my favorite moments as a comic book reader have come from reading something that someone suggested to me that I would not have picked up otherwise. Books like Reckless, Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. Books like 4 Kids Walk Into a Bank by Matthew Rosenberg and Tyler Boss. Even some of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Like, I was a big fan of the Ninja Turtles, but I wasn't sure how their comics would be. But because I listened to the recommendations of other people, I branched out and I found enjoyment in genres, in story types that I probably wouldn't have checked out otherwise. There are even characters that I'm like, I'm not a big Thor fan, but I'll read Thor in XYZ book. Maybe the biggest testament to this is the Immortal Hulk. I got a review coming up for Immortal Hulk. It's a 50 issue story, just masterpiece by Al Ewing. And it does lean horror. And I don't read horror comics, but the Immortal Hulk, my man Day from Omni Nation Comics recommended it so much. And honestly, everybody recommended it so much. I was like, all right, I'll give it a try. Loved it. So don't be afraid to branch out, man. Comics are supposed to be fun. Comics are supposed to be rewarding. Like, it's supposed to feel rewarding when you get to a story that you like. So don't be afraid to branch out into other territories. It doesn't have to all be capes and types, or it doesn't have to all be murder mystery. It doesn't all have to be true crime. All the above, right? Branch out. Try something new every once in a while. You might like it. You just might. And all that leads me to tip number 4. Don't buy the most expensive format first. Now, I told you guys, when I got into this, I was looking at all the fancy YouTubers. My man Omar from Near Mint Condition, Gem Mint, Collectibles. I was looking at all these people and what they all had behind them. It was a huge wall of graphic novels on these amazing IKEA shelves, and you just see hardcover after hardcover. And it's so beautiful to see all those red Marvel logos on the spines and those big blue DC logos, right? Listen, you do not need the oversized hardcover version of every single book, right? Like this Daredevil Yellow, this reads just as well as this Jeff Loeb Colors hardcover. The only difference is a couple of inches of trim size. Is this so much bigger that the only way you would read this story, which you could have had for $19.99 cover price, you probably find this for like $3 on Amazon used right now. Does that, like, not having it in hardcover, does that mean you're going to spend a cover price of $100 for this just so you can read this little bit of story? No, it's not always worth it to buy the most expensive version of a story. The most important thing for a comic book fan is to be able to read the comics. And so I used to be this way. I definitely would like frown on trade paperbacks and so on because I wanted to be like the big dogs and get the big books, right? But listen, just to try out a story, you don't need the most expensive format. If you just want to dip your toes into Green Lantern by Jeff Johns, I recommend going on Hoopla, going on DC Universe, and just reading a little bit of Jeff Johns' Green Lantern. You don't have to commit yourself to $300 hardcovers before you read a taste of the character. So don't go for the most expensive format first. If you decide you love a character, you love a creator, you love a particular story, then by all means, spend whatever you want on that book. Just, keep in mind the next tip. And that is tip number 5, set a budget. Set a budget for your collecting. Every week I do a video called the pull list. And in my pull list video, I'm telling you which single issues are coming out and which ones that I'm interested in grabbing. And I keep a running total of how much I'm spending on these books. My budget for comics is $200 a month. $200 a month is all I get, unless I get some money in from some side hustle. And that $200 a month translates to roughly $50 a week. But I got to be careful because some months have 5 weeks in it and so on. But anyway, $50 a week is all I get. If there was actually a period where I found that I was going over that budget a lot or often, I should say. And it'd be like $20 here, $20 there. But that stuff adds up. And if I wasn't resolved to only spending side hustle money on this hobby, I could have put my family in some crazy situations just because of FOMO, just because of this fear of missing out, just because of impulse buying. So setting a budget and sticking to it will help you a whole lot in this hobby. You definitely need to do it. And everybody's budget is different. So along with having a budget, don't judge yourself or someone else for having more or less money to spend than you do. We don't know what each other's pockets got going on. And I'm not a pocket watcher. So you probably shouldn't be either. So that's number 5. Set a budget. Now, the 6th tip, it's a bonus tip. Surprise. The 6th tip I have for you, pre-orders are your friend. One amazing thing about the comic book hobby that maybe other collecting hobbies don't have is we get notice well in advance that things are coming out. In the case of a single issue comic book, you typically know about 3 months in advance that is coming and you want to be prepared for it. In the case of collected editions, sometimes you're getting announcements a year in advance. Like we're getting announcements from Omar and Near Mint Condition about Marvel Omnibus coming out in September, October, November of 2024 right now. And so you get a lot of time to plan in advance. If you know your budget, for example, is only $200, then you got to be able to say, all right, in November 2024, I'm only going to have $200 to spend, and I'm definitely going to spend $100 of those dollars on Ultimate Spider-Man Volume 5 or whatever volume it's on, right? You got to be able to make those decisions, but pre-orders are absolutely your friend. If you pre-order with our folks at Organic Price Books, you actually pay up front for your pre-order. So you use the fact that you have money now and buy something that you're going to want a whole lot later. There are other services where you can pre-order without putting any money down. Just be careful with that because a lot of people will get themselves into a situation that they can't get out of just being impulse buyers. But pre-orders are your friend. Stay up on the previews catalog. Stay up on the Penguin Random House solicits and the Lunar Distribution solicits so that you know what's coming. You know how you're going to prioritize those things. And while I'm at it, tip number 7, it's okay to tell yourself no. I got a whole list of books that I missed out on this year because I just couldn't swing it. I didn't have the extra funds in the budget. And you know what happened? I didn't get those books and the world still kept turning. My kids kept growing up. We kept eating. I kept breathing air. Life went on. And yeah, there are some books that I'm like, dang, I wish I had those. But I'm very grateful that I didn't spend the rent money or the car note or gas money or food money on comic books. So it's okay to tell yourself no matter what anybody else on the internet is saying to you. All right. So those were my 7 tips for new comic book collectors coming into the hobby. Listen, comics needs fans. Comics needs the comic book medium. Needs people like you who love these stories, who love the creators, who love the characters, and who want to inject some money into this whole ecosystem. The world doesn't move without you. I do just want you to be careful that you don't make some of the same mistakes I did, where you're filling up short boxes with things you know you're never going to read again, where you're filling up your shelves with things you know you're never going to read again. If you want no more information about that, like books that I regret buying, just stay tuned. I got a video about it coming real soon to the channel. But hey, those are my tips. This is, again, part of the 25 days of comics. I'm bringing you a video every day in the month of December until Christmas. I hope this was helpful for you. Huge thanks to the channel family, the people who give a small monthly donation to make sure that Comics Are Dope can stay alive. I'll see you guys in another video review real soon. Until then, stay safe, stay awesome, be smart, and read something dope today. Peace.